What you doing at night outside?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Denise, can you have the roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor Gillen.
Present.
Thank you, Councilor Foreman. Here. Thank you, Councilor Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you, Council President Wagner.
Here.
Thank you, Councilor Gregory.
Here.
Thank you, Councilor Harvey.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Denise, and thank you everyone for coming. I love having a full house. You're all welcome. Some of you know, and some of them I haven't met yet. Thank you. So we're going to do the council oaths of office. We have 3 electors who are 3 winners tonight. I don't know how to say it otherwise. So Denise, I'll ask you to go ahead and administer that oath.
Thank you very much. Annie Gillen, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Andrew Gillen,
I, Andrea Gillen,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Jervis.
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Jervis,
To the best of my ability during my term,
to the best of my ability during my term,
I will be diligent, faithful, and impartial in performing the responsibilities of the office of City Mayor for City of Jervis.
I will be diligent, faithful, and impartial in performing the responsibilities of the office of the City Mayor for the City of Jervis. Thank you. So I'm the mayor again? Yay. Before we move on, I want to say thank you to everyone who voted for me, and to those that don't, I do represent you as well. Thanks for the return. There's a special somebody or somebody's here that I want to thank. I'd like to thank my family, my husband, who has endured a whole lot to help me become the mayor again, more than he should have. And to my son, Randy Gillen, my campaign manager and advisor. Son, thank you for quietly advising me through this whole process. You're amazing. Thank you.
John Harvey, please raise your right hand and repeat after
Can I
me.
ask a question for you? Do I have to follow after you, or can I just read this?
You have to follow after me because I'm the one that's bringing you in. So raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, John Harvey, do solemnly swear
I, John Harvey, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Jervis.
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Jervis.
To the best of my ability during my term,
To the best of my ability during my term,
I will be diligent, faithful, and impartial in performing the responsibilities of the oath of the office of City Councilor for the City of Jervis.
to the best of my ability during my term, I will be diligent, faithful, and impartial in performing the responsibilities of the office of City Councilor for the City of Jervis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Can we get some more chairs? Thank you for coming.
Michael Gregory.
Yeah.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michael Gregory, do solemnly swear
I, Michael Gregory, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Oregon, and the laws thereof,
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Jervis,
and the ordinances and policies of the City of Jervis,
to the best of my ability during my term.
to the best of my ability during my term.
I will be diligent, faithful, and impartial in performing the responsibilities of the office of City Councillor for the City of Jervis,
I will be diligent, faithful, and impartial in performing the responsibilities of the office of the City Councilor for the City of Jervis. Thank you. Who assigned this?
Or any meetings? I know.
Sorry.
Okay, that was exciting. Yeah. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. It's really exciting when we have a full house. So we're gonna move on to the agenda, number 5. We're going to elect a council president. Michael, you have your hand up, you have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to nominate John Harvey.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, then he can. Were you gonna second? Or-
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Nikki Wagner.
Hey, is there a second?
You listen, you're not going about this right. Excuse me.
Oh.
Point of order.
Okay.
There's already been a nomination put on the floor.
Oh, we have to vote on that one first. Okay. And is there any discussion? I would like a fresh start. And I'd like to have a council president that I can work with and feel comfortable with. Just so the council knows that. I think I deserve a fresh start. I think a lot of things were done that were unsavory, undermining, and I would be comfortable with John Harvey as the council president. So that being said, I'll do a roll call.
Mayor, who was the second on that nomination? for
John Harvey was,
And who's the second?
the Michael nominated, John Harvey seconded, which is in procedure. And so I'm going to call a roll call. I'm going to call Michael Gregory,
Aye.
John Harvey,
Aye.
Junior Gonzalez, Pam Foreman,
No.
Mickey Wagner. Okay, so that is not going to go. Is there another motion?
I'd like to motion Nikki Wagner as president.
Okay, is there a second? Can you speak into your microphone? Okay, so any more discussion? Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote. John Harvey. Junior Gonzalez.
Yes.
Michael Gregory.
No.
Pam Foreman.
Yes.
Mickey Wagner. Okay, Mickey Wagner is the council president. Thank you. Moving on. Announcements and additions. I'm gonna make a change on tonight's agenda a little bit. Since how we have such a full house, I'd like to get through some of it. And I'd like to change, I think, number 6, or number 7, which is public comment, to number 9. And number 9, committee reports, which is number 7. So did that make sense, Denise?
Yes.
Okay, that way we can get part of the business done. So on the committee reports, the only one we would have would be the ad hoc. And Laura, do you have anything to say tonight?
I really don't. I haven't heard back from Susie.
Well, can you come up and let us know that?
I can. Susie was checking into the website and with the National Guard, and I haven't heard a word, so I have nothing to report. And we're not gonna have a meeting until we have some information, so.
Okay. All right, thank you for your time. Any questions, council? Okay, Susie, do you have something that you can report kind of off the hip about the National Guard thing?
I do. I was going to do it as part of my staff report. Would you like me to do it now?
No, if it's in there, that's fine. I
Okay.
must have just over it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so then we're gonna move on to, the consent calendar. A, minutes of the December 1st, 2022 regular session. B, bill list for November 23rd through December 28th, 2022. C, the treasury report for period ending December 28th, 2022. I'll start by asking, I have a question on the bills list about our bill to the legal department.
Page 8.
Page 8. Oh, to Beersley, Eisner, and Hammond. It's for $1,704.03. My question is, after work, I come in sometimes to sign checks and stuff, and it appears that we have like an $11,000 check that I just signed for legal, and I didn't see it. I seen that the services were October, but I didn't see it in November or December's bill list for that amount. And Junior, you signed it too. Do you know what it's about?
It was about building out here.
The legal was about the building.
Oh, no.
You signed the checks too. I seen the invoice, but I didn't see it on the bills list, and I don't know if it's a protocol to, but I went back and I didn't see this $11,000 okayed anywhere.
Mayor, that bill that you signed is after the date, probably, the date that I pulled the bill list. Would that be it? Because this date is October
Okay,
27th to November 22nd. The bill list the bill you're talking about that you signed, you will see it on the next bill list in the next council meeting.
so we sign it and then it gets paid and we sign it before we approve it?
No.
Because it's not approved yet then.
You sign it when you come in. The bill list is just the bill list. The bill list is issued to you guys if you have questions on it. That's my understanding.
Oh, I thought it was to approve the bills. Oh, Tanya?
My question, my question is, what did you say the amount was?
It was like 11,000 something. $11,000 in
I'm wondering-
1 month.
I'm wondering what that is for. That seems like a very high price for our attorneys. I'm curious as what that is.
Is
Can
anybody?
you inform me of what it is?
I'm gonna refer to Susie on that. I don't know what's allowed and what's exempt for
Well,
public information.
It's a bill list. It's
It's
gonna
in
be
the
public
packet.
information as soon as it goes in here anyway.
I
Yeah,
understand.
excuse me. Sometimes there's information on the attorney bill list that's attorney-client privilege, meaning it's not subject to public records law. I don't know. I just want to be really careful, especially in a public meeting, if I'm allowed to say or not.
Okay, Susie. So my question is, I'm really curious about that amount of money. That is a big amount of money to pay out in 1 month. And so I believe that the people of this town that are paying the taxes into this town have a right to know what we're paying money out for. So I would, if we could get more information on that.
Well, and we are the clients too, this council. We are we are the council client, we are the clients. So whether it be done here or there, I do want a disclosure at some point.
I do believe you both know what it's for.
Excuse me,
Point of order.
point of order. I'm not gonna do outbursts tonight. You can raise your hand and get in on conversation at some points. If I do not call on you, then you may not. So moving on. John, did you have anything else?
I need the information on that, and I believe I have the right to ask that as a council person. I'm here by the people of this town to take care of things like that, so.
Yeah, I just want to be careful about the information that I put out because I do know that the bills that come from the attorney are attorney-client privilege and not always subject to disclose to the public, if that makes sense. You are allowed, you are allowed to ask the question and I will follow up with you appropriately. I just want to be careful and not do it in a public meeting.
So then I have one more question. So you're saying that the client is the city, is that correct?
Correct. But this is a public meeting, so that's why I'm being careful.
Okay, well, it would have been nice to be informed prior to this, I think.
Yes, I agree. I don't believe that the council's being informed properly, and I hope that changes. I also have another
Yeah, because we're not being, go ahead.
I have another question. I'm looking at this, vehicle replacement fund of $13,569 for a vehicle replacement. Why did we replace the vehicle? Maybe I can ask the chief that, or Susie, you're the manager, I'll ask you.
Okay, let me get to the spot on the bill list.
It's on,
It's also on page 8.
page 8. And it's the
Okay.
second line down. American Bank and Trust, PD vehicle.
Oh. That is the annual lease payment on one of our police vehicles, our newest vehicle, I believe.
We're leasing them now?
Yes, the council approved that.
Okay, you answered my question.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Oh, wait a minute,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
John, you have the floor.
but why was it needed, why did it need to be replaced? That's my other question. That's to you, Susie.
Yeah, going back in time, we had a couple of vehicles that were involved in accidents that needed to be replaced. And one of them was to replace one of those.
And can you tell me when that happened? When that
I don't
vehicle- I'm gonna explain to you why I'm asking that. Somebody sent me a picture of one of our vehicles in the ditch here, I would think about a little over a month and a half ago, maybe, or a month ago.
Mhm.
I never heard one word of it from you or the chief, and I'm wondering why we aren't getting the information from you guys.
Well,
We can't do our job up here as council people if we don't have the information from you guys. So we need to be informed of everything that goes on in this city, except for anything required by law not to be distributed. And this is not happening at this time. We need to change things. Okay.
Anybody else have any comments? Nikki, you have the floor.
Susie, I know you can't disclose the information regarding the attorneys, but is it possible for you to, after the meeting, email that information to the council?
I'm thinking I'm wanting a briefing. I want an update on the city and what's going on with that. I don't think that I'm okay with just. I would like to have you on your
Um,
offer.
Counselor Wagner, to answer your question, yes, I would like to check with our city attorney first to ask what kind of information I can disclose. And most likely, I will do it in an email unless she advises otherwise.
That's fine, Susie, but I would like to ask you, we are the client, so I don't think there's any information that should be withheld from this council as a whole governing body at any time. You work for us, the attorneys work for us, the statutes like this. I'm not trying to overlord, but I'm saying, we are entitled to know every bit of it. You guys don't get to pick and choose what you tell us is my stance on that. And it feels a little like that's what's being said. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think our lawyer fees are driving up. So
I don't disagree with that.
yeah, and so I think I might like to sit in on that lawyer conversation if you have one. And Councilman Harvey, you have a lot of questions. Would you like to sit in? Okay.
Did you want to ask the other?
Sure, I
It
was
should be
getting
open
to
to all
that.
council members.
Let me finish. When I'm gone, you're good to act as the mayor. That's what a council president does. We know that. But for now, I'm here. Pam, would you like it? Junior?
Yes.
I know I would. Nikki?
Yes.
Michael? And Councilman Harvey already said, I was starting that way, but it went around. So we'd like to have a briefing. That's what that comes down to, what I said earlier.
Okay, what would you like to have a briefing on? That $11,000 check specifically?
Specifically, why we're incurring a lot of legal fees, and I'd just like to know why. It just seems like that in 1 month is excessive. And I think it's essential that we be told. And with that being said, can we approve those consent calendar, council? Can I get a motion to do that if there's no other questions?
I
Yeah,
motion
go
to
ahead, Jennifer.
approve the January 5th consent calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Not hearing any, I'm gonna do an all in favor, say aye. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Now we will move to public comment, and I want to read the rules carefully. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person with an optional 2 minutes for council questions and answers. If you wish to address council, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself for the record. Council response is optional. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. 6 copies of the report.
I'll let you introduce yourself and get situated before I. Can you put the mic down a little bit more?
Is within my comments.
Oh, okay.
Can everybody hear?
Ma'am, I want to request an additional 2 minutes. I do have a public disability or a cognitive disability that would require additional time. So if I could have a total of 5 minutes. it'd be great.
That is fine. I've done that before.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. My name is Douglas Lanfield. I own property located at 940 Winfield Street, Northeast Jervis, Oregon, 97026. I purchased my property in November 2021 within the Ivy Woods housing development. I own many residences within Oregon and several neighboring states. The majority of my time is not primarily spent at the residence in Jervis. For the past several city council sessions, I have been vilified before the city council in a public forum as a stalker by my neighbor, Giselle Malmstrom. Ms. Malmstrom has embarked on a campaign to defame, slander, and libel. In my absence between April and October, Mrs. Malmstrom came before this council and fraudulently claimed I was harassing and stalking her. Mrs. Malmstrom imagined that I would abduct her, fly her to some unknown location as I am a pilot, then murder her. This was testimony offered by Mrs. Malmstrom during a 6-hour trial, which she lost. In October, the Marion County Circuit Court ruled Mrs. Malmstrom had no basis to make her initial claim in April that she was being stalked or harassed. Mrs. Malmstrom is a convicted felon for criminal mistreatment in 2016 and included her conviction in your package. As a felon, Mrs. Malmstrom is considered by the law to be a liar. Any contentions or testimony requires her to support her assertion with factual evidence. Mrs. Malmstrom does not understand the internet is not fact. It is hearsay by law. Through extensive discovery in the alleged harassment case, it was discovered that Mrs. Malmstrom was directed to pursue a protective stalking order by Chief of Police Mark Chase. Mark Chase claimed to my attorney that he spoke to me several times about Grisel Malmstrom, when in fact I have never spoke to Chief Mark Chase outside the courthouse on the day Mrs. Malmstrom lost her case. Chief Mark Chase supported Mrs. Malmstrom's civil matter. Chief Chase instructed the city attorney to obstruct a subpoena my attorney issued for the body camera footage. Jervis Police Department initially claimed they had 0 body camera footage, but in fact, we discovered they had many incidences of footage available. The chief then conducted a scheme to deny my attorney's access to the footage. This scheme cost the city tens of thousands of dollars to defend. This endeavor with Mrs. Malmstrom started in early March while I was recovering from surgery. I just returned from a 6-day stay in the hospital after surgery when I was awoken at 6:30 p.m. by a small engine on an auger running outside my living room window. I sent a text message the next morning asking the Malmstroms to respect my property rights and not leave construction debris behind. The innocuous text message also pointed out that they were not accurately determining the property line. I have included a copy of all text messages with Mrs. Malmstrom in the package I delivered to the council. Mrs. Malmstrom lied to the Jervis Police Department by claiming that I was harassing her. She further lied by claiming the first time she provided her phone number to me when she moved into the property on December 23rd, 2021. In fact, I have several messages, text messages, going back to September 2nd of 2021, 3 months earlier. Mrs. Malmstrom lied to the police twice on this occasion. A month later, Mrs. Malmstrom lied to the Marion County Circuit Court by claiming that I was pacing outside her house for an hour. I have video proof that disputes her claims of pacing for an hour and which are false. Mrs. Malmstrom was determined by the court to be falsifying evidence, and the court denied her petition for a protective stalking order. Grisel Grace Malmstrom fraudulently ran for mayor of Jervis. Grace Malmstrom is not a qualified candidate for office. You must reside in the city for a year before the election. The Malmstroms did not move into Jervis until December 23rd, 2021, far less than a year from the election day. Grisel Malmstrom fraudulently filed as a candidate for mayor and robbed 18 citizens of their vote as they thought they were voting for a qualified candidate. Mrs. Malmstrom lied to the voters of Jervis as she lied to the police department and the courts. Grisel Grace Malmstrom is a convicted criminal felon, a proven liar, and should not be trusted by the citizens of Jervis. Grisel Malmstrom has cost the city tens of thousands of dollars in taxpayer dollars. Those city funds used to defend Grace Malmstrom for a bunch of lies and fraudulent claims could have been used for the greater good of the community. Grisel Malmstrom has stolen this money from the city of Jervis through her lies and deceit. I'm done.
I let you extend because I wanted,
I know,
I didn't want to hear, I know you have a disability, you showed me your card. That is a lot of information.
I'm so sorry to put it's
What-
a lot to put into 5 minutes. She spent 3 months coming to this council and maligning me, calling me a creep, and trying to defame me before this council.
Okay, it's a lot of information. How do you pronounce your last name?
Lanphier.
Lampier. Welcome to Jervis. I have spoke to you on one occasion
Yes.
about the election. There I told you that I would Marion County, and then here I told you that we didn't have a jurisdiction as a council, okay?
Right. Well, I don't quite agree that you have to be armed and you have to win the seat. to be able to-
No, what I'm getting at though is, Susie, would it be possible, because we know the council couldn't act, but for the good of the citizens, I would like to see on, off the top of my head, on February's agenda, I'd like a start to finish, when the person picks up an application here, What does the city staff do with it and what are your responsibilities? So we can bring it to the public record. I would either like a presentation or a written report. Can we do that, please? I thank you for coming.
We'll see you in future sessions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that has a question I should have asked? I don't have anything further. Next.
Michelle Malmstrom, thank you for the 18 votes to my community. First
For
of all,
unqualified
Okay.
candidate.
Michelle Malmstrom, 960 Winfield Street,
Just a moment, please.
and also the ADA accommodation for 5 minutes.
Just, do you have your card?
It's in the car, but you know
Okay,
that
I believe you. Next time, please have
because I'm
it.
not a liar, as you guys want to say I am.
Just a moment, please. I'll start you when I get the timer cleared, okay?
Can I turn around?
You can do, but you're not going to address anybody yet.
May I
This
have
is
a
part.
volunteer, please, to please stand next to me and hold this paper for me? Volunteer, anyone?
Just a moment.
Let's see.
Why would they support a
Uh,
liar?
Okay,
Can
let's
you
not
hold-
start a fight in the middle of the
Point of order.
point of order.
We have to keep order, in here, so
That's the-
please, from the audience.
So I'm gonna start off.
I'm gonna start you when we get the timer cleared. Please do get your correct amount of time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to make sure you get it.
Hold just like that.
Oh,
So that
you just
everyone
press
up there
thank
can
you.
see it.
We have a new, thank you. So, okay, Ms. Maelstrom, go.
So I wasn't gonna talk about Mr. Lampier here, but actually I did not lose my case. The judge lectured you and told you to stop harassing my family.
That's not correct. The record says.
Point of order.
Well, she can't address me and then go through. that.
Yes, and you will address
This
this
is not the
council.
process.
Chief, sit down. He has not disturbed the peace.
Second, you did not want to receive.
Ms. Maelstrom, point of order, you will address this council and only this council. This is public comment. This is not the right forum.
Did not want to get served, he paid some service, all you guys have to do is drive by my house. You actually said you were scared to go to my house, that's who lives next door.
Because of what you described. But moving on.
Okay, anyway, anyone can just drive by my house, they'll see all the activity and all the cameras and all the stalking and harassing that he has caused for the last year. Doesn't matter, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Congratulations on winning mayor, but I also want the city to know what kind of person you are, okay?
Could you call the mic down so we get?
Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. The citizens of Jervis, one specifically, Melanie, did you call her a waffle twat?
No comment.
No comment because you did. Second of all, did you send me a text message laughing, joking about the Chiefs balls, golf balls?
No comment.
Because you did. Mhm. Third, you talked about Nikki Wagner, who's sitting next to you, and her nails, talking about how can she wipe her butt. Is that accurate or not accurate?
No comment.
You did.
Well, can you bring something educational up there?
Yeah, this is just.
It's, you know what, point of order, just let her have her 5 minutes.
Wow.
So that's how you won your votes. That's how you want to treat the people of Jervis. And
She
now,
wanted to prepare and
and
swear.
now, don't interrupt me, whoever you are. Mayor Annie, you have once again proven how low of a life you are. You have joined Douglas in trying to defraud the city and talk nonsense about me. You said that I committed voter fraud. The only fraud that was committed was by you, trying to convince me not to run for mayor, texting me, harassing me, calling me and showing up at my house, asking me not to do it. Okay? You knew I was at City Hall filling in my application and yet you did all these things. So because I ran for mayor, you now have an agenda to try to get back at me in any way, shape or form. Mr. Harvey, you were at a court where I received a ticket and then you went into the community and talked about what happened in that courtroom. That doesn't look good on you, does it?
It's public.
Point of order, let's keep her, let her have a
You
moment.
guys are just trying to smear and harass the chief and I and anyone you don't like. You said that I was friends with the chief. This is not correct. Yeah, you did.
Don't argue with her.
So
you want people to condemn this image about your husband. You ask that council members and city officials condemn this. Why don't you condemn the shit you do?
I asked.
Okay? The only reason I'm gonna condemn this is because it should have been your face and John Harvey's face on here, not your husband's. Okay? And then lastly, here's a message from you. Firstell, please be careful what you say, but John said no. Don't be annoyed campaign manager who thinks you would be stealing votes from you. You do whatever you want. So you were actually okay with it until you talked to John Harvey. And lastly, Mr. Harvey, I sent you quite a nice message. I said I had respect for you as a person. However, I disagreed with something you had said online. Your response to me was basically that, let me read it here. You basically said, don't be sorry. You have the right to be in any group you want. That's the way it is in this country. It's too bad you picked the haters club. What did you mean by that comment? Because I find it racist.
As
I
soon
think
as you
you're a
get,
pig.
as soon as you finish your comments, then I'll respond.
Go ahead, I'm done.
You're done?
Okay, she's
ahead.
done. Your time is up. First, I'm the mayor, and I'm gonna respond by saying, thanks for coming in.
I didn't hear that. You're the mayor?
I am the
Okay,
mayor.
okay.
Thank you for coming in. Have a nice evening. Happy New Year. Anybody else?
And now that I thought about it, it's not worth my time to even talk about it because it's nothing but a bunch of baloney.
Just go
So
online and
there we
talk
go.
about it.
prove everything you said. You haven't.
It's in here. Anyone
That
wants to
part
see it?
is big deal.
Well,
Thank you.
I have a statement. As Eminem said, now tell these people something they don't know about me. Anybody else? Public comment time, come on up.
Wow.
Step forward and give us your name and.
Anybody on Zoom? Not seeing any, we're gonna go ahead and move on. We're gonna move to the public hearing. Holly Byron is with us. I want to thank you for being here. Sorry. Good evening. My name is Annie Gillen. I am the mayor of the city of Jervis, and I will be presiding over this hearing. This is the time and place set for the public hearing of the matter of file SDR 2022-01 Fifth Street Storage Units. The hearing is now open. It is 7:38 p.m. Oregon land use law requires several items to be read into the record and the beginning of every public hearing. The city planner will review this material. Your patience is appreciated as she goes through these statements. I would like everyone, I'm going to add this, I'd like everyone to refrain from commenting. This is a time for her and you're free to listen, but I will not be taking any comments from the crowd unless you're involved or at the right time. City Planner Holly Byram.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, my name is Holly Byram and I work for the Goodwill-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. My role is as the city planner, contract city planner for Jervis, to help the city council understand the different standards that apply when a land use application comes into the city. So during the public hearing, the first thing you have to do is read this script. It's very boring. I apologize, but it's important. So please bear with me here. So it goes, the applicable substantive criteria upon which this case will be decided are found in the Jervis Development Code, Chapter 17.44, Light Industrial Zone, Chapter 17.144, Site Development Review, and Chapter 17.48 through 1796, General Development
Not
Standards.
by, I'm here.
Okay, good.
The specific criteria are summarized in the staff report and will be reviewed at this hearing. All testimony and evidence received during this public hearing must be directed toward these approval criteria or to such other rule, law, regulation, or policy which you believe to apply to this case. An issue which may be the basis for an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals shall be raised no later than the close of the record at or following the final evidentiary hearing on this case. Such issues shall be raised with and accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford this body and the parties to this hearing an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. This case will proceed with the staff report and any other comments from governmental agencies in attendance, followed by those who were in support of the application. All of those opposed to the application will then be allowed to speak, followed by those with general comments who are neither for nor against the application. Finally, the applicant will be entitled to a rebuttal period, including any questions this body may have of staff or the applicant. All speakers should try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please submit a speaker card completed with your name, physical address, and mailing address. Do we still have speaker cards? When you begin your testimony, please give your name, physical address, and mailing address into the microphone for the minutes. It's perfectly all right to state that you agree with the statements of that previous speaker. Please be assured that everyone will have an opportunity to speak. If you have any documents, maps, or letters that you wish to have considered by this body, they must be formally entered into the record. To do that, either before or after you speak, please leave that material with the city recorder, Denise, who will make sure that your evidence is properly taken care of. Prior to the conclusion of the first hearing on a land use application, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony. If such a request is made, it will be up to this body to determine if the hearing will be continued to a time and date certain, or if the record will be kept open for submission of additional evidence or testimony. If the record is kept open, it will be for a minimum of 7 days with a short rebuttal period thereafter afforded to the applicant. Okay, that's that. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Holly. So number 2 is ex parte contact or declaration of conflict of interest. With that out of the way, I need to ask the audience and fellow counselors a few questions. 1, does any member of the audience have any objections to the notice that was published? Council? Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the city council to hear this matter? 3, does any member of the city council wish to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or bias? Does any member of the city council wish to report any site visits or ex parte contacts? Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the impartiality or ex parte disclosures of any member of the city council? That being out of the way, I didn't see any responses, so the staff report I'll return to Holly Byron.
Okay, great. For the record, Holly Byram. So the city council should have a staff report in front of them. Did everyone receive a copy of that? Okay, great. My goal with the staff report is to help you understand the standards. I know it's a lot of information and it's hard to present in a way that's easily digestible. What I hope to do right now is run through that, hit some of the highlights, and then we can double back if there's anything you have additional questions about. So most cities have a planning commission, and that's a volunteer body of people who hear land use applications and make decisions on them. In Jervis, we don't have a planning commission, and so the city council hears all of the land use applications. And so I know someday you may not want to be doing this, but I found that you are very thoughtful in your analysis. And so this is not something you do every day, so I'm going to give you the best information I can. This is a site development review application, and this is for a property located on 5th Street in Jervis between Alder and Birch. It is currently undeveloped. Fifth Street has a very narrow paved surface, and alder and birch are completely undeveloped grass at this time. The applicant, the owner is Pacific Interiors, attention, Fred Kozachev. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. Excellent. The proposed development on this property is for a 2-story storage unit building. And this is a property that's zoned for industrial, but this immediate part of the city is kind of a patchwork of industrial and residential properties. And so it's kind of tricky to hit a good balance there when you have industrial up against residential. And so what's being proposed is a 2-story building. Total, it would have approximately 146 units. So you'd have ground floor units as well as second floor units. A site development review is a type 2 application. And so that requires public notice was sent to all the neighbors, and then we have a public hearing at City Hall. On page 2 of the staff report, I've included a map so you can get a feeling for which properties are zoned industrial and which ones are zoned for residential. There's also an aerial photo that shows the undeveloped property. So immediately to the north and to the east, you have residential properties, but then to the west and the south and the northeast, you have industrial properties. Further to the south, you have the railroad. This property actually received approval a couple years ago to consolidate the historic lots that were there, along with a vacated alley on the north side of it. On page 4 of the staff report, I've included a snapshot of the proposed site plan. So you'll see that what's proposed, there'll be 2 driveways on 5th Street. The main driveway will be the eastern driveway, and that's where the customers would come and go from that 2-way driveway. The western driveway would be emergency access only. There's a fence proposed around the perimeter of the site, as well as a landscaping strip. There's a trash enclosure, and then also a pedestrian path marked around the building itself. So this application was actually originally submitted in August, and the public hearing was scheduled for October. At that point, there were additional details to work through. The applicant requested a little more time to work through those details. And so it was continued to the December meeting. And then at the December meeting, we continued to begin to January. And so now here we are, the applicant and the representative are here to provide a little more detail about their proposal. The actual criteria for the city council to consider starts on the top of page 5. And what I've done is I've provided the light industrial zone standards. Those standards talk about the types of land uses that are allowed in the light industrial zone. Warehousing and storage is absolutely one of those uses. Also included in the zone are dimensional standards, things such as setbacks and height limits. As proposed, the development does meet those dimensional standards. On the bottom of page 6 is where the site development review criteria begins. And that's where we really look at the details of the site. And so these are things like the public facility standards. In most communities, the policy is that development pays for itself. So when someone comes in and proposes to develop a site, they need to make the improvements to the public facilities. And those are things like the streets, the water lines, the sewer lines, storm drains, street lights, fire hydrants. And so in this case, all of those are required of the developer. I've included those standards here. It's a fairly unique site because it's bound on 3 sides by a public street. That's a pretty unusual situation, especially for a community of this size. So typically you would want a developer to build the streets along their development. However, there are provisions in your code that allow some leniency so that you're not charging the developer for the full width of all the streets on all 3 sides. And so what's being proposed by the developer is for 5th Street to do a 3/4 street improvement which is what originally the city had proposed. And so that means they'll build their sidewalk, their curbs, their gutters, and then the full width of the pavement, just not the sidewalk on the other side of the street. So that's what's proposed, is a 24-foot wide paved street. On the side streets of Alder and Birch, there's no connectivity north to 6th Street. And so the developer is making the case that it doesn't make a lot of sense to build a full street to nowhere. It'll end in grass. And so the city engineer does have some authority there to recommend approving a lesser standard. And so what's being proposed by the developer there is a half street width. So they'll still build their sidewalks, curbs, gutter, and then 17 feet of pavement instead of the 24.
I'm sorry, I guess I'm lost a little bit. So on the back half where it would be 6th Street, 5th, and then it'll go all the way through to 6th, but
Sure, so along the front,
there's nothing there, right?
right,
Okay.
so along the front, 5th Street,
Yeah,
24 feet wide.
sure,
And then on the sides, Alder and Birch, 17 feet wide.
okay,
And so that gives them enough room for parking and then trips, vehicle
Alright.
trips.
oh, I understand.
So 3/4 street on the front, half street on the sides, and that's reduced from the standards that are in the code, but the city engineer is supportive and is recommending the city council accept that. So moving on here. The development code has certain requirements for the amount of parking that's provided. For storage, the provision is simply as many employees as you have, that's how many spaces you'll provide. We don't know exactly how many employees, perhaps the applicant can tell us later. The original submittal provided 3 parking spaces. Those were removed in the latest revision, but staff is recommending that you do have some parking on site here for employees and maintenance and customers. There are some loading zones proposed on the site. Currently, they're pushed to the perimeter of the site, but the thought is that if you're a customer loading your belongings into a storage unit, you probably want to be tight to the building so that you wouldn't have a lane of potentially cars driving between you and the building. So there's a recommendation to move those loading zones against the building. Let's see. Parking lot landscaping is required and it is provided. So typically when you have 2 different uses like industrial against residential, you want some kind of a buffer in between. And sometimes that's a fence, sometimes it's screening like hedges and bushes. In this case, we also have to balance that with the police department's ability to do a visual surveillance or a patrol when they drive by. They need to be able to see onto the site. So it's kind of a tricky balance to hit, to have the visual surveillance, but then also have the buffer. So what's being recommended there is the buffer along the east and north sides, so that's directly along the residential, and then having the front fencing open so that the police can do their visual surveillance. Let's see here, bicycle parking is provided. ADA parking is recommended. Storm drainage is planned for. Water and sewer utilities are planned for. Both Public Works and the city engineer have reviewed the application and their comments are attached. The fire department, Woodburn Fire Department did review the application and made comments. Their concerns are usually regarding fire flow, hydrant location, and access to the site. The applicant did provide a access diagram that shows the turning radius around the building, so we can be sure that that rig can get around the full site. We just need a more detailed landscaping plan. Let's see. One other issue that came up in the latest round, the city has adopted access control standards, and what that is how much space between intersections so we don't have traffic accidents if you have a driveway right by an intersection. In this case, we need to see that primary driveway moved a little bit farther from the Birch intersection at 5th Street. Okay. So that's the summary. After the review there, you'll see on page 15, that's where the conditions of approval start. And so these are the binding conditions that if the city council motions would be adopted and enforced. So this is, for example, when the applicant then comes in for building permits, staff would do a check to ensure that all these conditions are met before those building permits or final occupancy are granted. The first few are pretty standard language. Starting on page 16, you have your fire department approval, revised site plan, getting some parking on the site there, moving those loading zones if possible. Ensuring that that parking or loading zones are not used for outdoor storage. There's no outdoor storage proposed for this development. Moving that driveway location over. Making sure that there's safe pedestrian connectivity. And then the city engineer had recommendations for water storm drainage. Okay. Let's see. All the rest are standard conditions there. There's a reference to the city of Jervis fences, wall and hedges, and then also the clear vision area. There's also a recommended condition about dumpster capacity. This was a condition that you saw on a different development recently where we wanted to make sure that the owner of the property is responsible for maintaining those dumpsters. They don't get out of control. They're not undersized. Okay. So at the bottom of page 18 is where you have the city council options listed. The recommendation of staff is for the city council to approve this site development review, adopt the findings and recommended conditions in the staff report to council. Attach the staff report in Exhibit A or the comments received back from city departments and partner agencies. And then Exhibit B is the application itself. I know it's a lot of material. I'm happy to answer any questions now, or we can go ahead and hear from others and we can touch back if you need.
So that was the staff report. Number 4 are, I will now accept public testimony regarding this case. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of the application? Please come forward.
Point of order, I'm sorry, we should hear from the applicant first.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The applicant.
Wait, this is his representative.
Oh,
Not me, I'm the
okay.
applicant.
All right. Thank you, Holly.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. My name is Jeff Colton. I reside at 1438 Pine Street in Lake Oswego, Oregon, 97034. My office though is in Salem, where I work at. So multi-tech engineering. First of all, I wanted to thank Holly Byron for the staff report, and even Susie helped out some too, with some of the work done on this project to get to this point. And so Holly has shown some patience. We did have some things resolved in a lot. We didn't realize we were going to be hearing on October 4th. And so that's why we didn't even realize that until within a few days. I had no staff report or anything, but we just need a little more time, get through the holidays to get to the point of where we are today. And the staff report put together, we are in agreement with like 98% of the stuff. And they even brought some good ideas to the project, which we have no problem implementing with the conditions and stuff. This project developer, Fred Kosachev, is really wanting to get the storage site going. It's perfect because it's zoned correctly for a mini storage site. So that's what we're presenting here and stuff. The only thing for consideration before I ask for questions is we had a little issue going back and forth with what Holly brought about Birch and also Alder Streets on the improvements, because they're going nowhere at this point. And so we did show half street improvements. City engineer did agree with showing that at this point, but I don't know if there's consideration or any other options to deal with these half streets. We understand completely the full access, which will be giving Fifth Street to the site. We'll adjust the driveway, but we're just building half streets for future development towards I-5, which I don't know when and if that will ever be connected, because we're single family houses there and no curb work was ever done. So there's kind of dead end streets. So I don't know if there's something for consideration. We've even looked at a possibility of even if it could be deferred in some sort of deferral agreement. But those are just some things to consider. Holly talked about loading zones being moved and how many employees. And really, we had shown initially on the site 3 parking stalls just to give parking on site. At most, we'll have 1 employee. We could fit in some additional parking spaces as needed, and we will adjust the loading zone, give you better access to the building access and stuff. We have stairs up either into the building and stuff. I like your ideas on maybe adjusting fencing along the Birch Street and putting landscaping on the outside. I like that idea. It looks like we can reduce some of our setbacks a little bit, which will help just give it additional width and run around the building and stuff. But anyhow, that's all I have for you at this point. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to give it a shot.
When you spoke about deferring, do you mean improving it at a later date? What are you deferring?
Yeah, you have a couple options. I mean, you can set up that you have adjacent properties, adjacent commercial properties are being developed at that time. We would then be required to come in and finish up our half street portion of the site, be it on Birch or Alder. Because you have even a residential block, I know on I want to say it's the north side, but it's actually like northwest. But if they're required to put in curb and sidewalks, we would then do ours at the same time. So we've done that in different jurisdictions. I mean, that would something be your city attorney or planning would have to look at. But I think developers, as opposed to putting up the cost and building these half streets now, which will be quite a bit of work, is, and the other thing too, is even putting these in, all the drainage, we're still set up for drainage, because the streets will drain towards the railroad tracks. So we will be able to catch it at this point, but it's just the fact that if other properties are being developed, or the city ends up developing or building Birch and Alder adjacent to the single family houses, that would be another time where they would be required to extend the road. But right now, I don't see how Birch and Alder are going to be extended along our frontage further to the west. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, it's up for you for consideration and stuff. You did go ahead and show what was set up, what city engineer recommended in planning. But it's just something to consider, just to give, sees the developer putting up all the costs at this point. So anyhow, that's one answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question about the parking, because I know you said there would possibly be parking for employees. But what about those folks that are coming in, maybe just to check their storage unit or grab a dresser? Where are those folks going to park?
Well, good point. I mean, that's why we had 3 spaces shown to begin with on one side along the Birch Street side. On the initial review comments that came back, it's like, no, we're required to have 2 loading zones. So we removed the loading and figured, okay, anybody could park in these loading areas, but we do have an opportunity. We could add some additional painted parking spaces and stuff. So along the side.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Dan, you have your hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There, and then I'll
Okay.
come down the floor.
Excuse me, so you said you had 98% you had no problem with. So the 2% that you're talking about has to do really with the half street improvements?
Yeah, it's just Birch.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So that's
No,
really the
that's-
significant.
I mean,
piece of
again, the
question.
staff report was good, excellent ideas, but they implemented, it's like, okay, that makes sense, and that's what you have, a planner to help you out and help us out too.
Thank you.
So you would ask for a deferral on that 2%.
If, I just don't know what you all think. I mean, it's a significant cost, and, I mean, if you look even on Fifth Street, it's a very small little street until you get to our area, and now we're gonna have a nice 3/4 street improvement. So, I mean, that'll be all set for the future and future development down the road.
John, you have the floor.
Well, yeah, speaking to the deferral, now I'm gonna have a problem with that because we've had those before and they don't seem to work out for us too well. We get promises and then somehow we they don't happen for us, so.
Well, and you can always make that, some sort of condition that has to be worked out prior to any type of building permit issuance. I mean, you have options to get around it. Force us to do our due diligence and work with city staff to give us an opportunity to, work through it. If it can't happen, if it's not agreed upon, I guess we can come back, we can always explain to council what happened. I can come back here and talk to you like, this is not gonna work. It's the only thing I can think of.
I'll give you a little example.
Mhm.
The housing development out off of Black Walnut, when we first went in, they were supposed to have an HOA out there.
Mhm.
And they never did get done, and the people that started that whole thing sold out, so they disappeared, and we had no way to even get a hold of them, so.
Yeah, usually HOAs are set up, at the time of plat recording. Again, I'm using the option here of building permit issuance, so you have stuff set in place before you allow, because you're gonna be doing the civil construction first. Buildings have to go through approval process of the county. So there is some timing involved with things that have to be done, so that could be a condition as well, so.
Anybody else, do you have anything? Michael?
Can I direct a question to Holly?
Yeah.
Did you know of this new development prior to this meeting?
Well, the last revised plan had the half street improvements on it. Deferral agreements are not entirely unheard of. Typically, the language says that it's kind of a blank check. The developer says, in the future, I will develop this thing, usually it's sidewalks, when you tell me I have to, when it gets called in. But typically the language is about a local improvement district, and I have never seen one actually ever successfully called in. Some language can require it when there's an abutting or an adjacent development. So for example, if you look on the bottom of page 2 in the staff report at that aerial photo, there's an industrial property to the west. Not all of that property is fully developed. There's an industrial property to the northeast, which is entirely undeveloped. So potentially such a deferral agreement could say, owner will build the street when this other development builds their piece.
Well, just the reason why I asked the question is we've already got a recommendation from the engineer, and we got a recommendation from our planner, and we've got a recommendation here to approve from both. Now we have a change, and I didn't know if you guys were aware of this before.
No. I would hesitate to make a decision without city engineers feedback, or perhaps Kyle could give some public works feedback.
Like I said, it was just for consideration.
Okay. So anything else of this gentleman? I don't see any, but thank you.
All right, thank you.
So Holly, are we at number?
That would be the proponents, those in favor of the development.
Okay, now I want to go opponents.
I believe there may be others who want to speak
Oh.
in favor.
Okay, so is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor? Come on up, sir, introduce yourself. Can you put your microphone up a little bit taller, please?
That was a pretty good package. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna build an Alden Street. The end of Alden. Anyway, we kind of agree with this, but Birch doesn't really go anywhere. Alden goes nowhere. It goes into the farm. So, and I didn't even know that that street was an existing street. I have interest in this property, but. So that's kind of what I'll have to say.
So you're saying Alder goes nowhere
It just perhaps.
into farmland?
Yeah.
Holly, can you be, that property that he's talking about, is that a person south of it? Is that commercial or?
South of Fred's property along the railroad.
Well, that way, the railroad goes like this, just at the end of here.
At the end of Fifth. The tile building,
on that side of town.
it's all part of the tile business.
On our part.
That's
We
their
just thought it was
side.
a field. We always thought it was a field and,
So this is private property, and then this is the tile building, and this is all part of their property. That's a big piece. So it's potentially redeveloped someday.
needs a field. I'm all for it, it's just that these.
Can I have his name for the record?
Oh,
Mayor?
I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Yes, of course. Can you give the recorder your name and address, please?
Blazer Kaluga. 11220 Portland Road, Northeast Salem, but I only live 2.5 miles out of here and it's Wabash device, Jervis and Salem.
Yeah.
So I'm 2.5 miles away, 3 miles. I don't have much to say, just that these side streets are.
Okay. Financially.
Really, financially, yeah, that this is really nothing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else for it? No. Oh, John?
I have a question for you, sir. So on the south end, you're gonna actually put a street in there up halfway because you're gonna have parking down there, or loading zones on the south
Around the
end.
building, yeah, there's on our side, there's.
Well, you'll be on the north and south sides and in the front of the building, which would be Fifth Street, correct?
Yes.
Fifth Street will be fully 3/4 developed, curb, sidewalks. I mean, even,
Okay, well, so my question is, you say that street, that's not gonna be a street that goes anywhere, but it would connect in with Sixth if it went all the way through, both of them, Birch and Alder. They would actually connect in with Sixth Street.
you are correct down the road, but the problem is, I think this is city right away. And when you had the single family homes going along Sixth Street, they did improvements along Sixth. But there was no improvements on Birch or Alder, even doing a half street or a 3/4 street. So it's really, that's a city cost down the road to have those streets further extended to Sixth Street, if that makes sense.
Well, depends on whose rules you use, I guess.
Yeah, for that half, I mean, the opportunity is now gone because you have single family homes there, but it's gone in fairly recently, I would say. So, I don't know about future sewer connectivity or water connectivity as we head towards, the northwest. We're actually picking up the water line, off of Sixth Street, coming down Birch to serve our site, so we're bringing water to our property.
A lot of.
Yeah, and we're taking care of storm drainage on Fifth Street now too, but what I'm saying is, adjacent, if you look on the drawing of the site, adjacent to the single family homes, the city's gonna end up being responsible for paving those sections of road, at least on the half street sides, adjacent to the single family homes. Like I said, there's something to consider, so.
Thank you. Thank you for your,
Thank you.
coming up. Is there anyone else in favor? Come on up, sir. Can you give your address to our recorder?
What's
So can you give your name and address to Denise? She's recording.
2995 Malala Road, Woodford. I'm the developer. And I just wanted to find out is, see on the other side, Sixth Street, there are residential houses right there. How come they didn't have to develop, all that stuff, and this is a commercial? Why do I need to do that? I don't understand. I mean, the residential, they need to have a sidewalk, they need all that. And they never, they develop that, and this is a commercial, who's gonna walk over there? Who's gonna drive over there? That's the only thing I wanna say.
Well, it's before my time, but does anybody have any insight on that for the gentleman?
Like I said, those 4 houses there, I mean, Birch, and they should have developed that, then I could have connected to them. Doesn't make sense.
I was here during that time. and I thought you developed it, Brett.
No. Somebody else did, but that makes sense, if they would have done it, then I would have connected to them. But if they didn't do it, I mean, half street, what is that gonna do? Right? I don't-
And our entrance is from there.
Hmm?
Our entrance is from there.
Okay, so the only question that I have when we're talking about the half streets is Sixth Street is all the way paved. As far as, coming off of, Douglas. Now, when you're talking about proposing on the side on Fifth,
Yeah.
you're basically proposing to go primarily through the tile company property. So if you're doing that, that is, I would think that you would want to have the half streets, because otherwise your people are gonna be going in and they're going to have to do a U-turn and come back out. You see what I'm saying?
Why would they U-turn? Because they're gonna go inside and
And they have to turn
they're
around
gonna
and
go
come back
around
out.
all the way around.
Yeah,
That's
they
it.
loop around.
They'll loop
Okay.
around. You don't need to U-turn there. You know?
Fire marshal.
And besides, there's a gentleman over here that just built 4 houses. They have alleys too. He didn't have to do, that's residential. And he didn't have to do, what street that is? Second and the what, first? That's residential.
Second and third.
He should have done like the street and the sidewalk too, but he didn't have to do it. This is commercial. I mean, residential, so.
Just not to argue, but I
Yeah.
know a gentleman that lives off of Second that he and his neighbor paid for a whole street to be put in, some years back, because, I know him and he used to be my neighbor, and when he moved over there, he was asked to put the street in when he built his home. So there are, I know that has happened.
From the second street,
Side street.
yeah.
No, he's correct.
Oh.
Those houses he's talking about, they.
Oh,
sidewalks.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh.
And then like I said, there's a residential on that's 6th Street, right? If they would have, they did their job and I would have connected them, it's no problem, but they didn't have to do it.
So,
Sorry about that.
John,
no, I have
you know what?
another question for you.
Right.
So what you want to do is run those Birch and Alder up halfway. Is that what we're at?
I don't want to do that, no.
That's-
But I mean, what's the halfway?
Well, that's gonna give you more parking, whatever. Well,
That much parking without on the street. People are gonna be pulling into the storage site.
no, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be all fenced around, they're gonna be pulling in.
Okay, that's what we're here to ask.
I mean, they're gonna be inside anyway, I mean, they're not gonna walk in the front. All right. Thanks.
Okay, is there anybody else that's in favor of this? I'm not seeing any, so I'd like to move this on to the opponents. Is that what we're doing next, Holly? Yes. The opponents. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Not seeing any, so we're gonna move on. There's no rebuttal needed because no one was against it, is that correct?
I wonder if there are any neutral, neither for nor against questions,
Oh.
comments,
Okay,
clarifying questions.
hey, I'm not seeing any, Holly, so I'm gonna move this along. Hallelujah, move it forward. Oh, okay, I see that. It's been a long day. I work outside of the city. Is there anyone who would like to request a continuance of this public hearing? Okay, is there anyone that would like to request a continuance of this public hearing? Not hearing any. You stop out there.
I want to dig.
So now, before I close or continue for public hearing, are there any additional questions from the counselors or staff or anyone? As a reminder, once I close the hearing, only counselors or staff may speak. Mom? Oh, this is my mother. For disclosure.
Sandra Cliff Gregory, 680 Douglas Avenue. As far as Alder is concerned, between Fifth and we go through 7, and then it goes to some people's houses and then it goes into an open field. It's really not used, except just in case of an emergency, or a few houses that people live over there. So it's not something that really needs to be developed extensively. The same thing with Alder, from Fifth all the way to 7th, and then it goes a little ways, and there's some houses as 7th, but it goes into a field. So it's not going anywhere. So as far as development for the future, it could something we could wait for the future. If we want to go ahead with this.
Well, thank you for your input, Mom.
Thank you.
She's rocking almost 80 and she's great, folks. John,
Yeah,
I love you.
21 and older.
okay, after looking at this, on page 4, the proposed site plan, I wasn't sure when I first looked at that how that was laid out, but now I see that the people will drive in and can drive around and come right back out the other end. So with that being said, I don't see any problem with the idea of asking them to pave those streets.
Kyle, can you put the microphone a little bit closer to you? I'd like to hear what you have on this.
Yes, right now, there's no, obviously, traffic on the streets. They're unimproved and grass, and the city maintains them. Realistically, it would be in the city's best interest to have them improved now, versus down the road. That way the city's not putting the bill down the road. I do agree when it comes to, say, the Alder Street, because that's not even a full width street. I believe it's a 42-foot versus a 60-foot. But my thoughts are, I would like to see at least, one of the streets improved. Say you get somebody coming in with a larger trailer or larger moving truck that can't get in and around. I understand there's the fire department codes for a certain amount of radius, but sometimes in the real world, talking with real world drivers, they may not be able to get in and out. So if there's nowhere to turn around, they're going to be using the entitlement property, which is right across the street from Fifth. I don't know that they would appreciate that. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, John,
Well, after hearing that, I'm kind of changing my mind. I'm thinking maybe we should at least do the one end, Birch Street.
so maybe a compromise to one and not the other.
And yeah, maybe forget Alder and go with Birch, but in that case, it seems like that would be a good play anyway for the fire department if they ever had to get in. They can go up that street and take care of that with, their fire trucks. So.
So, really, I'm not sure how to proceed with this other than it's our time to talk about it, right? Is anybody else included in that part of the conversation? Or-
If public testimony is closed, then yes, the planning commission can deliberate leading up to a motion.
Okay, so I need to close it. Okay, is there anybody else before I close? The time is 8:24 and this public hearing is closed. And now we'll deliberate. Council?
What do you think, JR?
No, I was just looking at the map and I was confused with the way you were with that for we hold all the cleanup dumpsters.
Yeah, it's across the street.
Is that still railroad property?
Yes, well, it's tiled textile property, it always has been. So they're not included in that piece. I'll still be
Right,
open
right.
to us.
I was thinking about turnaround.
Well, we get garbage trucks in and out of there.
That's for sure.
I mean, honestly, we have huge garbage trucks and big old dumpsters go in and out of there. So, I mean, it is something that. A big one.
I just want to know if they're on game with splitting the difference, doing one and not the other. No, you don't want to budge, do you? All or nothing?
Well, it's not gonna be used to. There's a lot of room inside, and we get enough turnaround, we get a loop all the way around the building for traffic, fire marshal. moved it.
Okay, so their proposal, so I'm just getting it straight, their proposal is they don't want any, and you were thinking just one. Go ahead, Nikki.
So first off, I need to apologize because I was looking at the plans based on our city cleanup where we have a lot of dumpsters and we have issues with people getting around and getting stuck in the mud. So I kind of agree with doing at least one street. But then again, if you know, if the fire marshal has approved it, they're the ones with the big rigs that have to be able to get in there. But I mean, still having, you know, if you've got a huge trailer of stuff. I mean, have you tried driving a huge trailer through there?
Bigger than a fire truck, something bigger than a fire truck. There's no trailers bigger than a fire truck.
No. I'm just saying, there are like flatbeds and, you know, when you're turning a corner, those are pretty tight, aren't they?
It's still small.
We got a flatbed trailer through Ivy Street. They try out to. Michael, you have the floor.
20.
Holly, what would our engineer have to say about this? You recommended 2 streets. Can you give me some insight?
I think he thought that half streets was generous. You can see, I can't see Kyle very well from here, but I don't know if you had any conversations with Gordon, the city engineer, about this.
A couple brief conversations there, but I believe for that zoning, you know, the requirement for code is 3/4. So, like I said, you know, he was being generous when he recommended the half street.
So the council would be even more generous by saying just 1 by 1.
Yes, you know, if you're familiar with the area, Alder, it is very narrow through there, so, and that's, you know, I mean, I could kind of agree with that, but, you know, I would like to, you know, go with basically what the engineer or the council, you know, you guys have to all make a decision.
Thank you.
Carl, because you don't want to pick the wrong one. Long for you.
I like the idea of it later, you know, we have city costs and building, you know, is. I have to go if I like to save money for the city of Jervis. I mean, if we could meet them in the middle, maybe that would be okay with me, like Kyle suggested. But I do look at future costs for us, you know, and if it's something we can do.
Be a party place.
No,
This is gonna be all fenced around, because then you just, the houses that got built a few years ago. They didn't have to do nothing.
I wasn't there, but I would suggest a different, I didn't know that.
So what about, I know we talked about deferrals, you know, having some things deferred. As a compromise, because I do agree that, you know, that Birch Street should be at least a half street done. However, what if we deferred this till the building was built? And then we would go back and see, hey, this or this needs to be half streeted. That way we're kind of meeting in the middle, but it would be in the contract that if the city decides that they do need to be there, then you would be required to put them in.
Like this gentleman, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm right there with you.
Then that's power after the fact.
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak or not.
Yeah, you can speak.
Technically,
You know,
Well, what I
I'm
would
not
say is-
technical.
It's best to make the decision now because you don't want to have to come back in, you build everything out and like, well, let's put in another 200 feet of path street out on Alder. That wouldn't make, it could be, probably wouldn't work. And, I mean, you started to say something about, okay, we agree, we'll do the half street on Birch. Alder, we could defer if for future commercial development.
To that point, legally in Oregon's land use system, the improvements that you require of an applicant have to be roughly proportional to their impact to the system. And so it would be difficult for the city to justify saying at some point in the future, we're going to require this. We would need to have some very clear and objective criteria about what would trigger that improvement. It would be pretty tricky to do probably. The teeth that a city has in building is either at the stage of, when you're breaking ground, when you're building your building, or when you get your final occupancy. Those are the teeth that you really have.
Okay, is there any other discussion or?
I might ask Kyle one more question. So you're sticking by the engineer's recommendation, right? Is that correct?
Well, the engineer is recommending 2 streets, Alder and Birch, with the half streets improvements. You have, curb and sidewalk on one side that's, directly adjacent to the property with, I believe it was 17 foot of asphalt on each. I'm just looking at the reality. Alder Street is, it's more of an alleyway right now. Like I said, I believe it's not even a full 60 foot. It's more like 42 foot wide through there. I would, if there's any compromise, made or whatnot, I would at least like to see Birch improved, just for other parking, turning around, whatnot. We've already compromised, I recommended a compromise going with 2 half streets.
And so,
Yeah.
that means that street would have to be improved only on their side, more or less. I mean, they'll put in the street, but they'll put in everything else down to the end of their property.
To the back of their property, yes. The existing alley, which was currently vacated. And terminated right there.
Well, if we agree to a half street and permit on the blade, you gotta move it quicker than more money.
Holly, Susie? What say you on that?
Yeah, question. What's the recommendation that Archie said he needs for the fire trucks?
I don't know the exact numbers. I was looking at the plans that were dropped off. And it showed the inside turning radius as a 28-foot radius. The outside, I think, was 40, 42 or 48. 20, 24 and 48 was the 2 radiuses. And that's, like I said, with a professional driver going in with a long wheelbase truck. My only concern is you're going to have people pull in, look at that, because that's going to be pretty tight for the average driver. So I would like to see at least one spot where vehicles can turn around that's paved, because in the wintertime, anytime it rains, both sides of that are adjacent. We can't even get in there with tractors to mow a good portion of the year. So the only other place for the people to turn around would be on the private property. So there is a kind of a driveway, a triangular shaped driveway right off the tip. I would, I don't know what their views are about everybody coming in, turning around there. I wouldn't anticipate a high volume of traffic, but it's not something that I think that we should ask of them.
We're not letting people move in, we're gonna have some trucks going in there.
Yes, but
Small.
when you're dealing with, storage units, that's generally
Okay.
people in transition from moving.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. So let's move this on. You guys, We need a motion, is that what we're gonna do?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to make a motion that we accept the half street plan. I don't have a page. I'll make a motion to approve the site development plan with the changes that have been made here tonight as to the street, half street on Birch. And site review file, number SDR 202201. And adopt the findings and recommended conditions of approval contained in staff report to the city council as amended by city council, stating the desired revisions, and that is to do a half street on Birch.
Second.
Any more discussion? I'll do a roll call on this. John Hardy,
Yes.
Michael Gregory,
Yes.
Nikki Wagner. Yes. Junior Gonzalez.
Yes.
Pam Foreman.
Yes.
Unanimously, the ayes have it and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Yay!
Happy New Year.
Yes. Holly, thank you for coming in.
You. Take care.
Holly, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move this meeting along. We need to schedule a work session for parking. Yeah. So we need to get this on the calendar, council. I would like to see it happen sooner than later. I have met with some constituents and some non-constituents who have some issues, and they are, one lady has given me via email some ideas, some very constructive ideas, and I'll be submitting those before the meeting for Susie. I'll send them to you and Denise. The lady had some really, I think, pretty good ideas that council should hear, and she can't make it because she has some children. So that being said, I will be submitting some things. Council dates. Can we look at some of those upcoming? Susie, I'm gonna start with you. Your calendar for this?
Historically, the city is has always reserved the third Thursday for work sessions. Staff feels, I mean, the next available opportunity would be January 19th, but staff feels like we would need more than 2 weeks to prepare. So we would propose February 16th.
Well, can we negotiate a little bit on that? Let's see. Well, that would probably work for me. Anybody?
What date?
February 16th. Pam? Yeah, okay. All right, Susan.
Oh, that's not gonna work for me.
Never mind. Tenth or 24th? Oh, I'm sorry, Thursday.
When will we be back? Excuse me. Linda. Honestly, no. I'm thinking the 24th would be good.
23rd.
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 Susie, would the 23rd work for you and the staff?
It's open for me as long as it's open for Chief and Denise.
Yeah, we're gonna have to proceed because we counted that once.
23rd.
No, 10th's a Friday, Mom.
No, she's not.
Oh,
But I'm gonna be gone. So
What was the availability on the 23rd? We're not available?
No, I'm not.
you're not. Okay, then I'd like everyone to be here for
I
this.
thought you weren't available for the 16th.
I'm gonna be gone.
Okay.
So would you be available the 10th? Or the 9th, I mean?
9th, I think maybe the 9th. Yeah, the 9th would be okay.
Susie, February 9th?
Okay, Chief and Denise, does that work for you?
I'll be out of town, I won't be here.
Okay, could you do a report maybe, or give some, insight through a
I've got a lot of
report?
input from citizens,
Okay.
lots of ideas, but yeah, I'll be out of town.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm not.
And Nikki's not available. We'll still have quorum, right?
But you just said that you'd like all the council there.
I would, but nobody's getting a date, Susie, and I don't want to keep pushing this out for the citizens. We've asked for this months ago. So it's, it's really getting,
Let's try one a different day.
okay, it
It
doesn't have to be a
Thursday.
Okay, so what days do you have available, John? Let's start over there.
I don't have my calendar with me. So, when are we leaving? The 10? I don't think, no, I think I'm leaving.
Leaving on the 16th.
We're leaving on the 16th. Okay.
Okay.
So, and we already said, the 9th is no good, so how about, the 10th?
Yeah, Friday.
That'd be
Do you have it off? Okay. Everybody? Staff?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Denise, are you good with that? February 10th? How about you, chief?
No, I'm gone for a couple of days.
Okay, well, enjoy your time off, but a written report on what your insight is, please. Thanks. Susie, the 10th?
Yeah, I'd rather not do a Friday night, but
Well, it's only one of the days that everybody can be here.
Well, we'll move it up, what about January 26th?
January 26th?
Gives us 3 weeks for staff.
There you go.
That's an idea.
I'm not
Got
available.
you?
So it looks like we only got the one day at this point.
Okay,
So,
are there any Tuesdays or Wednesdays?
that's what I was just thinking. How about, not Valentine's Day? How about Wednesday, the 15th, before you leave, John? You're busy. Michael's busy.
Wednesdays are out of the question for me.
Well, I guess Valentine's Day or Monday, the 13th.
I'm good Monday the 13th.
You? Okay, chief can be here Monday, the 13th. February, yeah.
Are we all in agreement?
Everybody agree on the Monday, the 13th? Susie, will that work for you?
13th works for me. And
All right.
and the rest, Chief and Denise.
They said it would. That's probably better anyway. So at 6 p.m., is that a good time for everyone? All right, 6 p.m. And I will get that information to you. I'll try to do it tomorrow on my lunch. Denise, so you can print it and put it in the packet from Citizen. It has to do with a whole nother area that we're looking at. That would help. Okay. All right, so moving on from that. I believe it's we're looking at the activity tracker. We took it out of December's to do some upgrades, and I didn't see a whole lot of that. Are you still working on it, Susie, or is it a work in progress? Or?
I think it would help me if I could understand better what you are looking for. I mean, how would you like it to look? And maybe to save everybody else's time, if you'd want to come in and show me how you'd like it to look, that might work.
Oh, you talking about design or what's on it?
Well, I don't know what you mean by the way of updates. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm still seeing old stuff on there and names and stuff, just little. John's still on there and he's no longer with us, so we could boost that, put Kyle on it. So it's just more up to date.
Okay, so formatting wise, you don't want it to change?
Let me give that some thought, but yeah, I'd love to get with you and talk about that.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, council, anybody else have a question on it? Go ahead.
So Susie, on 6 regarding the grant writer, where it talks about projects being identified, I just wonder if we had any identified or where we are with the grant writing process.
Well, we don't really have any projects that are shovel ready, quote unquote, to pursue a grant. We have had some small community grant opportunities. The deadlines, one of them was, I think, the end of September, the other one was the end of June. But like I said, at the time, we didn't have any proposed projects. Eligible projects would be things like park lights, perhaps skate park, some kind of entertainment venue in the Jervis Community Park, like a gazebo or something like that. You know, I shared with the council that I was in contact with PGE last month, and he's going to be getting back to me with a proposed plan. Sounds like PGE will be able to help a large part with the park lights, but I'm getting off subject. But basically, we just need some little projects going and ready in order to pursue these grants.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
More, I have another question.
Go ahead.
Mickey, you know.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay.
Finish what you're.
So
doing.
number 14, excuse me, where it talks about the website. And we've been talking about this for a while now. I just wondered if you're looking at a couple more, you know, it would be nice to be able to conclude this within this quarter.
Yes, within the quarter, we can look at a couple more vendors. We haven't done that yet, and I'm sorry for the delay on that. But yes, by the end of March, we should be able to schedule something with a couple other developers and get an idea of who we want to go with.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So number 19, I know somewhere in here, we're talking about the Love contract that we have, that it's ready to go and in place. I just wondered if we were publicizing it, taking candidates for, or where we are with that.
We put as much information out as we could on the last water bill, letting customers know that this resource is available to them. And we gave them Love Inc.'s phone number to contact them for eligibility on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to let you guys know as far as number 12 with CERT training, keeping that on there, but adjusting the dates. There will be classes starting for 5 Mondays, starting February 27th, with a final date where they'll actually do a lot of hands-on being April 1st, which is a Saturday. So if anybody's interested, it's great.
Can I ask a question real quick, Nikki? If you're previously certified, do you do a refresher course or what do you do?
How long
If I
has it
have
been?
certification, you have cert in another city.
How long has it been?
Oh, it's only been 2 years since my last
Then
certification.
yes,
Okay.
as a trainer, I can tell you, yes, you can come back in. You have to attend 3 refreshers.
Okay, thank you.
So anybody else got a question on this tracker? Okay, I'm gonna move it along. We have no action items, no new business. We're gonna move to staff reports, city manager Martha.
Susan, your mic's off.
You're muted.
Thank you. I provided a written report in your packet. I've got a couple of new things that I wanted to add. I've been working with a developer for the apartments that are going up in between Winfield and, or Ivy Woods and Winfield Ranch. They're in the process of submitting permits for getting the infrastructure in the ground, meaning the water and sewer, storm drain, and also working in the rights of way. So the permit goes through Marion County, and Marion County will contact us, meaning engineer, public works, fire, all those players for comments before they approve the permits. So that's in process. I did log on to the National Guard website, and I established an account for the city to start pursuing help from the National Guard with the skate park. I'm not really into the meat of it yet, When I do get there, I anticipate asking the park ad hoc committee more information on, what the ideas are and whatnot. Once I really get in there and see what they're asking. So that's my report.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions of Susie?
Yeah, I've got a question. Susie, on our, if you go on the site and try to pull things off of our city website, as far as the meetings go, I'm having people calling me and they're saying that they're not able to get all the information. And I'm wondering if we're having a problem with it.
What information are they looking for?
Well, they were looking for some videos off of it. We do furnish that, right?
Like Zoom?
What video?
Well, where would they get it?
The last two city council sessions are only audio.
Raise your, just to be formal.
I'm sorry.
I'll call on you. What did you say, sir?
I said the last two city council sessions only have audio, no video. That are still up on YouTube.
Okay, I was just on there tonight and I did see a December video, but I guess I'll check again.
Okay, thank you, Susie, and I'd appreciate that because I've had several calls about it.
Okay, thank you.
Something to consider, that the product work, it's got videos and audio, stuff like that with Zoom meetings and everything. It's up to new people looking whether to use Chrome, Explorer, or Firefox, because only one of them usually works.
Well, it might be a browser issue.
Yeah,
rather than-
a lot of times the browser.
I'll try another browser. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your input.
Thank you, Brian. That might be it.
Okay, if you're done, Susie, I'm gonna move on to, I believe, Chief Chase. And not to be rude, but I need to use the restroom and I'm gonna let the council be in good hands. Is that all right with you if I step out? Yeah, could we all take like a 5-minute break? I appreciate it. Thank you. We coming back at 8:57.
Denise, will I have access to the city email instead of using my own personal email for council business? I had one prior 2 years ago. Maybe we could just restart that one, or we have to go on. All I need is see if we can just get back.
No, I spend my time between Arizona, California, and here. I'm in the cannabis business. We have dispensaries throughout 3 different states, so I have to travel to those states regularly. So I basically spend 2 days a week here, 3 days in California, and the remaining, either 2 or 3 days.
How are you gonna get back?
Come back to Oregon.
There's nobody.
Back to Oregon, I do that on a weekly basis. Oh, yeah. That's why it's just the 182 locally, and then
There was no. There still is.
Oh, okay, I got you, yeah. Yeah, the owner of the airport, close friend of ours. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got your vineyards right off of 282, the exit 282, there's a big red barn. Lent to Sellers.
Yep.
That's us. Yeah. So that's our vineyard as well. We're out of Chandler. My father lives outside of Lawrence, between the Yukon and Phoenix. And then they go out there twice a year for the NASCAR races. And I love it. It's a great place to visit. So like I said, I get really great, and then go back. I don't know if I can live there. But I know sometimes, you know, a little smooth, a little brutal, but it's beautiful down there right now.
Yeah.
More ambition than I have right now. Which is like a goal. Okay.
You guys want to go ahead? Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's come back to order. I know it's a little early, but it's also late when I work in the morning. So I'd like to move on. Chief, your report, please.
One correction, in the arrest section, it said 0, there was actually 3 arrests for the month. Other than that, any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Now, so we had a vehicle that had an accident with it, not too, maybe a month or a month and a half ago. Is that correct?
No.
I have pictures of it.
Not in the accident.
It was in the ditch.
It was partially in the ditch. He was doing the U-turn and his tire went into the mud a little
Is
bit.
that not an accident?
Didn't get damage or anything. It's not a reportable accident. Councilor Harvey.
It should be reported to the council. So we have had it.
Susie was aware of that. Susie was aware.
Well, I understand that, but Susie's responsible for keeping the council updated on the things that go on in this city. That's her job.
Councilor Harvey, I report to Susie. I let her know, okay?
I'm glad to hear that.
Minor little thing.
Yes.
An officer was doing U-turn to go get a car. If you could provide a criteria of what you want me to report to the council, or if this is what the council wants. I don't mind reporting to the thing, but it seems a little bit silly that an officer just makes a U-turn, go after, goes in the mud a little bit, and you're making an issue out of me not reporting to you. I'm not hiding anything, okay?
I'm not saying you are hiding anything. I'm just saying you're having a problem putting this information to the council, which, why would you have a problem letting us know about that?
I don't have a problem with it.
Well, you didn't let us know. though.
Can I say something?
Yeah, you sure can.
Thank you. We're clearly not aware of any expectation by the city council of, what you would like to be informed of. I mean, I get that you need information to make decisions, but as the chief said, this was a minor thing, non-reportable. There was no damage, no injuries to anybody, no damage to city property. I mean, to us, in our discretion, like he said, we're not hiding anything from the council, but we didn't understand that this might be a reportable event that the council would like to be aware of. So maybe, like the chief said, if you could let us know, what the criteria is, or, do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, John, you want to finish?
Yes, I do. I'm going to read you something, Susie. And this comes from your job description. States that your essential job function, that's essential. I'm highlighting that. Oversee day-to-day operations of the city. Keep council apprised of current activities, recent events, changing requirements, and fiscal status. So when I read that, I think that anything that happens in this city, whether it's with the police department or you or your people that work for you, you need to notify us. That's our right to know that. And that's. Well,
You know what, Miss Malcolm, you did not raise your hand. If she does not settle down and be quiet, you will move her. That is your only warning. Okay. She just spoke out of turn again. I would like her removed. please.
Thank you.
Are you refusing to do that?
Point of order, can we get back on track?
If you didn't hear that.
I asked you to remove her, and that's within my rights. She's been popping off.
They left. That's how we handle things. Just like a trespass, you remove yourself from the meeting.
That's fine.
she's
No,
still-
out of the
she's
bill.
still in. She's still sitting up there.
I've had enough of
It
this.
doesn't matter, you're a piece of shit, both of you.
Okay. But that, I'd like to see that added into the minutes. That
Make
came
sure.
from Ms. Marcel. So
Grisel now.
Grisel Malmstrom. I want to make sure that is in the next set of minutes. So getting back to what I was saying, I believe that we are entitled to all the information unless it is prohibited by law. And that's what I'm asking for. I want to be notified when things happen in the city. I need to be kept apprised of what's going on. And it hasn't been happening that way lately. So I think we need to make some more change.
Pam had nothing next. We'll let her go.
Thank you. I do think that when there is something within the city, whether it's the city works or the police officers, where we have a reportable accident or something that costs the city money, then we need to be appraised of it. I don't think that somebody turning around in a piece of dirt is something that we're interested in as a council, since it didn't cost the city any money, it didn't damage anything else. I think it's important for us to let Susie do her job and not interfere into the minutia of every single detail that goes within this city. Cost us money, we need an attorney, we need to make a decision, absolutely, 100%. It needs to be brought forward. We should not have to ask for that information. It should be anticipated that we need to have it. But when it comes to other things that are, turning around in a piece of dirt how many of us turn around a piece of dirt every single day in this town? We do. If it sustained an accident, it was reportable. If it cost the city any money, absolutely, we need to.
I would agree with that somewhat, but when we get phone calls, hey, you have a police car, we're not aware that somebody was hurt. We're not aware of that because lately, as John says, we do not get apprised of anything as far as I'm concerned. We don't get told about any of the goings on. We wouldn't have all these lawyer fees if I knew what those were. I feel like we're not apprised on anything. So Pam, I think some of the frustration is because we are the ones that live here and we get the phone calls. A simple text, hey, if it was nothing, things that you perceive that people might see.
Well, it would help us out if you get concerns from citizens. If you would contact staff, you can contact me, you can contact the chief. Because oftentimes what we see, we don't see it in the same way that maybe somebody else does, but we can still take it seriously and we can still care about it. It's not that we're hiding anything. It's not that we don't care. Sometimes we need to be made aware too, and not wait to blow all this up in the middle of a council meeting in a public forum. So you guys could also help us by letting us know what you're hearing, and then we can get that information out to the council to let you know, hey, it was a minor event, understand there's concerns, everything's okay. That would be helpful to me and the rest of us. Thank you.
Vicki, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, Pam said what I was going to say, and then Susie followed up. I think if we want minuscule things like that to be given to us, then it should go in writing, that those are the things we want. Now, I will also say this. I've seen enough harassment of city employees, PD, Public Works, and myself. And I know all of you just took an oath, and we all have taken an oath to be, to follow the rules, to be impartial, and to do our jobs. And from some of the things, I think that if we're going to get phone calls or emails or whatever the case is, I think those people's names should be brought, or those people should be sent to the city, because she is the city manager. So, or the PD, why are these things coming up and we don't know the names? Because they're hidden.
I'm glad you brought that up. People are afraid of some people, individuals that Jervis Community Progress Team. Have you seen Reddit? And I'm going to ask you all, have you seen what's on Reddit about me abusing staff daily, making them cry? That I called one of them the word on the record? Have you seen it or been told about it? Chief, I'll start with you. Have you seen it or been told about it? If you want to go there, then okay, let me put it this way.
I do not want to get into.
Okay, so in other words,
Can I
you
finish?
won't answer.
Can I finish?
You can finish.
This is not part of my report. This is the time at the council meeting for me to give our report. We're going down a rabbit trail. I do not pay attention to Facebook. Yes, lots of citizens call. The police department has been involved in lots of reports. If you would like an agenda item and brought forth the information about what we have to receive from the community, what we have to investigate regarding those kind of comments, I could provide a report to you. I'd be happy to do that, but it should be added agenda item.
I'll just take it out of the city. Take it out of the city.
Okay, number one, this council, regardless of who it is, has the right to ask questions. And it's not abuse to anybody. It's wanting to know answers. And there's nothing wrong with that. So making you calling it abuse is not true. It's people wanting answers to questions, and they should be answered. It's very simple. Just answer the question and then we will move on. And so my question to the chief was, well, why did he thought he didn't want to, or didn't think he should notify us? And he told me the answer. And then Susie came on there. And here's my point. This, whether it was an accident that cost the city money or not, it is an accident, and it needs to be put on record so that if the same thing happens again, maybe we need to deal with it. Maybe there's a problem. And I'm not caring who it is, who was driving the car, I don't care about that. But if the same person does it again down the road, we need to know about it so that we can handle it. So there's my point.
So you're suggesting that you want to handle disciplinary matters?
No, that's not what I suggested. I'm suggesting that this needs to be kept, put in record, and that's why I brought it up. Because whatever may have happened, may it be an act, just a light accident where somebody made a quick, easy mistake, it still needs to be recorded. We need to have it in the record, states that happened. And then if it starts happening, if it happens again and again and again, then something needs to be done. And of course, we can't say anything about it because we don't know about it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure can.
Why did you just call me and ask me about it?
Why didn't I call you this?
Why did you call and ask?
I
me
did.
about it?
Why can't I ask you right here?
No, I'm just saying before. Why didn't you call me?
Because I would rather deal with anything that I want to know from you or Susie or anybody else in a public forum so that everybody can hear what's going on. I don't want to be talking behind the scenes about things. I think I told you that before at the meeting we had one time. And I see what I got out of that. I didn't like the way it happened. And so I take it here now. This is where I come with my questions. And all I ask is that you answer.
It was non-reportable action, so I didn't think it was.
You already said that.
Okay, well, you've got your answer then, Ron.
Yep.
So is that all your report?
Yes.
Ms. Ladd?
I just want to put my 2 cents worth in, which probably means nothing, but you're talking about this accident. This is the first time I heard of it. I have no idea. But if it went in a ditch, shouldn't someone look at that car to see the undercarriage, to see if there's bent, whatever? I don't know the mechanics of it, but that's all I wanted.
Thank you for your input. So Kyle, we'll move on to you.
Can I make a question?
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's important that the city has an incumbent responsibility for their citizens to record all incidences, that there is a amount of damage that's done or not. They need to record it. They need to report who is responsible for it, as the councilman said, so that if that person makes that same mistake again, then they can go from a verbal warning to a written warning. I have many businesses and I have to uphold my employees to uphold standards, and that's all you're asking your officers to do is uphold standards.
Thank you for your input. Kyle?
Well, sorry about the lengthy report here, but December was a very busy month. If you read through it, there's only a couple updates to that. The flashing beacon lights in front of the schools, we're planning to have a ship date, and it sounds like they will be installed January 10th, is the anticipated date next year. And the water plant with PLC, which is the controlling computer, had a technician out yesterday going through many of the files in there and is helping us work through that. And doesn't appear to be as serious of a problem as we were worried about. So, but otherwise, it's all in that report.
You're doing a nice job. Thank you on that basketball hoop. That is just like something that the community is very, very excited about.
Good.
You fared well through the ice storm?
Yes, it was the windstorm, I'm sorry, the ice storm that took out the power, so, we were on backup generator power for almost 24 hours. Driving was a challenge, getting around, but we were prepared for it. Coincidentally, the new generator out of the transfer station in the first two lagoons was wired in 1 week before. And we got to use it right away, so it worked out great, that's good.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, now it's business, mayor and the council. I'm gonna make a statement. I'm not asking for any comments, but it's something that I want to put out. For 2 years now, by 2 citizens, I have been cyber stalked. I have had fake posts put about me, read into record here. Fake ethics charges. I have every right to have my city email checked when I'm afraid there's a virus or a threat. That won't go anywhere. I'm not real worried about that. I mentioned to Chief Chase that I have been being bullied online. He says it's a civil matter. He has also told several citizens they're civil matters. It has progressed to cyber stalking and bullying beyond. My husband was made to be a pedophile by these people. It is harassment. And I'm not here in the city daily. In fact, I'm going to make a statement. I am afraid to come in here and utilize my office. On December 13th, I let Susie Marsden know that I am not feeling safe having Heather Lagasso come in here and archive. She said she was on this side of the counter. This woman has terrorized me and my family. I have been spit on, called names in public. And I know for a fact the staff was told about Reddit, where the lies have been told. I can't prove it. They were sent information and never informed me at all. Secondly, I have a right to come in this building and feel safe. And I do not feel safe using my office to meet with constituents or people in other communities. Council, I have every right to feel that way. I also do not like the Jervis Community Progress Team, our council president is affiliated with, meeting here, throwing meet and greets for our staff. The same people that they know have been harassing me are invited in and left to mingle. One of them, or more of them, loaded things into my car because my husband didn't realize the person that painted him as a pedophile was one of them. Thank you. Thank you. You were here. I've never met Heather Lagasso, never talked to her, but she sure has a lot of opinions of me. I'm sure we'll read about it on Reddit. I'm telling you, I don't feel safe. This is not acceptable. I will take action.
Then add to that, please.
You can add all you want.
All right. First of all, don't attack the Jervis Community Progress Team. Wait, no, point of order, I'm speaking. Okay, thank you.
You know what? I called you, not you, Nikki. And point of order on you. Go ahead.
I was speaking and you stopped me. So the Jervis Community Progress Team has been around for 30 years. We do not have any issues with the Department of Justice, the Secretary of State, the IRS. We have done nothing but good. We just recently gave out a $1,000 grant to a small business because we got a donation. We also gave out a $500 grant. So now you tell me, I'm not responsible for what other people say. I too see a lot of the things that people say on Facebook. But you know what? I disengage because it's not worth my time. If you want to get to know me, like for example, this Annie Saffield, she won't even come in to meet. She hides behind a computer. but she can talk all kinds of crap.
She was aggressed by Heather Lagasse.
I'm not Heather Lagasso.
You know what? In the papers for your group, you, Melanie Blair, and Heather Lagasso are the chairs. People that are harassing the mayor and citizens being allowed in City Hall.
Okay, so I'm gonna rebuttal that. What about some of the comments that have been said about my husband abusing me? And that's why I came in with a bruise on my face.
Never said it.
Never
Who
said
said it? Who said it?
Irregardless.
The reason we won't bring people to forward to say, it's like that big blue Ford truck over there still parked on the grass. If you say anything, you get out. So anyway, I don't feel safe at City Hall, and I have every right to.
So
So does everybody.
I've got a question for Pam, JR, Nikki, and the chief. This stuff that's been being put on Reddit by Heather Lagasso is terrible stuff, accusing people of being a pedophile and even getting other people that went on there and threatened to hang somebody, hang
Hang my husband,
her
stone him.
husband and
That's your
stone him. Would you guys condemn that right now here and say that is, you will not stand by anything said on there like that? From the Heather Lagasso?
From Heather Lagasso.
That's right.
State
From
her
Heather
name.
Lagasso, will you condemn that right now?
Heather Lagasso has been picked on from the very beginning.
Listen,
Do I
I'm asking
condemn-
you, listen,
Okay,
I
here's,
asked you a question.
yes, and let me answer.
Will you
I
condemn
do
it?
not answer for anyone's
I'm
else's
not-
actions
You're not,
but
you're
my
answering
own.
for yourself.
I focus on myself. I don't have anything to say about other
Will
things
you approve of
unless
it?
I hear it. I didn't say that, John.
Well, then
You didn't hear that out of my
condemn
mouth.
it. It's not right, and you know it. JR, will you condemn it?
I can't condemn because I don't read any of this stuff.
I
No,
don't-
it's been
and I've been
said.
going
You're
on
telling
for-
me, you just showed me something the other day that was gossip. So why are you telling me now that you don't read this stuff? Come on.
My
How
husband.
about you, chief? Will you condemn it?
Mayor, as your sergeant in arms, we are way out of line on agenda items. We're talking about, saying, if you want to talk about staff relationships, if you want to talk about your relationships with each other, maybe an executive session would be in order. We're talking about hyperbole, Facebook, Reddit.
No, real life problems. And I'm asking you guys to condemn what's being said on Reddit about me abusing staff. He just asked it too.
I haven't seen it.
You were not sent anything. Is that what you're saying on the record? You were never sent anything off Reddit,
I've not seen anything about your husband, but again.
but about me abusing staff.
We're off track.
No, no,
Sergeant in arms.
I'm getting it on.
Yeah.
this.
Mayor,
Wait.
I have the floor. I'd like to finish. So how about you, Pam? You're not in?
I 100% don't know a thing about what you're talking about.
I'll show
All
you.
right, that's.
I'm not interested in seeing it. I prefer to stay. I believe that we should have civil discourse. I absolutely agree with that. I believe that people should be able to express themselves in a civil way and an accurate way. But I will tell you 100%, I'm not on any of those things. I've never read a single thing, and I've never had anybody show me anything. But I will say that we should have civil discourse, and that as a community and as city council, we should become a unified city council as we go forward into 2023.
You can't have that when you have people that are associated with people on this council that are on Reddit, and all they're doing is demeaning the mayor and her husband, calling her a pedophile, him a pedophile, and her saying bad stuff about her. And so if you saw that, would you condemn? it?
I already said that I believe that we should have better behavior, and then that's not an appropriate thing to say.
Yeah, so anyway,
Linda?
there's your answer.
I'll get you in a moment. Linda?
Do I have to come up there?
No.
Okay, Pam,
Yes.
I want to ask you, the comments that these people just made as they walked out, disrespecting every single one of us here.
Yes.
And it's because of the crap that is going around in Jervis. And you up there sit and say you don't know anything about it, and you don't want to know anything about it. You know what? I come down here because I care about the city of Jervis. I don't think those people should ever be allowed to come back until they come to that pulpit
and say, please, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But nothing happens. There was somebody in here and the chief heard her several months ago. Fuck you, as she walked out.
And then denied it to another resident.
Nothing's been done. As a city person that cares about the city, that is a disgrace to me that I come down here and nothing is done. These people get to say whatever they want to say. You're allowing yourself to be disrespected. You are, I'm sorry.
That's an assumption.
It's my opinion.
That's okay. Everyone is.
Go ahead,
entitled to an
Brian,
opinion.
let's have it.
It's not really much. First of all, I agree, it's a disgrace to the entire city, but it's not one-sided. It's never one-sided. If you want to go ahead and condemn all the stuff that's going on negatively, it needs to be everyone, all your groups, all your minions, all your friends and people, because it is everybody. It's across the board. It's not one-sided. It takes two to tango. That's the first point. Second point, if you go ahead and read your own charter, you would realize that it says flat out, no council member may directly or indirectly attempt to coerce the manager or candidate for the office of manager in the appointment of removal of a city employee or in administrative decisions regarding the property or contracts of the city.
Contracts.
Contracts or property. That car is city property.
Brian, we know you're a pro staff. You're part of the crew. Go ahead, Junior.
See,
Okay.
yeah, discriminating,
Yes.
people down.
That's my opinion of you, Brian. Go ahead. Turn me into ethics.
This,
Keith,
okay, this what's going on. You know, this is a bunch of bullfuck shit. No, I'm getting sick and tired of this shit, but you, everybody's saying about her, him, the other person. You know what? They should keep their mouth shut. Like what happened right now, when that lady came in here, started saying, she posted a piece of paper of
I
her
had a
husband.
picture of my husband and a
You
piece
see
of
what?
shit next to
You know
it.
what?
Yeah, I don't-
What happens here is she's picking who she wants. The first time I came here to this meeting here, I thought it was, oh, you know, it's gonna go all right. First thing, she popped out, oh yeah, he's disabled, this and that. You know what? I don't care a hoot about that shit. And she comes out, oh yeah, I got, you know, I'm disabled. If she was disabled, she should be in a wheelchair or on something. But she doesn't. She comes in here and she starts her little rumors. Why? I see Facebook. I listen to all the comments and all that stuff. But one thing, she's always after the mayor. How many times how many times did she talk about you?
Who? But you have to look at it though, Junior, on the other side of the coin, there have been a lot of negative things, and I do have screenshots. Okay,
Screenshot, you mean the altered stuff that they put
No,
on, right?
no.
There's.
I'm not on Reddit.
Let's hear from you.
So, yes, please, let's hear from you. Because you don't know me from Adam, but yet you can continue to basically online harass me,
He's never.
call me
harassed you.
names, all kinds of things. And you know what? I don't engage because it's not worth my time. You don't know me. You don't know what I've done in the 11 years that I've been on this council. You don't know jack about me. So why are you attacking me?
Okay, wait. You know what? I'm gonna go back to, this is a statement. I do not feel safe with city staff and or in this city hall. City staff has, in my opinion, aided and abetted the harassment. Joe Reese is a fine example. He's a nice man. Everybody in this city knows why Joe Reese got into the meeting. Everybody. Whether we can prove it or not, it's that kind of stuff that's unhealthy for this city. It's just unhealthy. And you're not gonna stop people from telling the truth when their gravestones are ruined. You're not gonna tell, but always it reflects to, it was my fault online. I get that. I'm not commenting. I'm talking about right here, right now. I do not feel safe. I don't. I am not protected as a citizen or the mayor.
I think that's something that should be taken very, very seriously. If a citizen, mayor or not, doesn't feel safe in the own city where they live, we've got a big, big problem.
Kathy, I was spit on. I've been called horrendous names in public by people I've never met. Over 169,000 views. So I'm dealing with it, okay? But when they crossed the line and they couldn't get my attention, they targeted my husband because he didn't like a $50 Santa picture. It bothered him, so he made an opinion. That's how that started. Mickey, you're not a victim.
No, I didn't say I was.
Thing is, it's really, it's horrendous, and the staff is not innocent, in my opinion.
Did anyone ever ask what the $50 picture was? Because
Nobody cared.
no, Aaron, please. I was at the tree lighting. There was a photographer. She was not charging. We were doing a fundraiser to raise money to help businesses, to give a grant to students to better use for their college.
This isn't, CPG is not even,
No, but
not
the
even
thing is-
affiliated with the city.
No, it's
They're
not.
harassing people too. If
They're
they're free,
not.
chair people are harassing, and yes, they are.
That's it.
Go ahead.
It's
Up to
done.
you.
I've not said anything to you, badgering Brian. That's my opinion of you. You've been badgering me for a couple of years now. You announced you're gonna run, and you've badgered me ever
That's
since.
your opinion. You're entitled to
Said a lot of people.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Just close the meeting. It's ridiculous.
This is my last word. I've lived here for 18 years and I've been really proud of Jervis. I've been proud of my husband because he cares about the people of Jervis and he tries to save money and he tries to have a better place to live. He wants a safe place to live. He wants things for our kids to do. And you know what? It's really hard for me to sit here and listen to the comments that are made when you know someone's heart is really in the city. As long as this goes on, Pam, JR, Mickey, all of you on the board, police chief, Susie, as long as this continues to go on, you think things are bad now. They're only gonna get worse.
This is a
And
city
believe
divided.
me,
It is.
It
It is a city divided.
It's
that-
not gonna stop.
you
It's not gonna stop.
guys.
No, it's
cannot
not.
believe our
They're trying to make
department
Because nobody cares.
me and you
You
both.
see,
I'd like to
and
hash it out and
the thing
make it quit,
But the thing
but I
is,
can see that's not gonna happen.
you know, I'm a lone person. You know, I got my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion. But you know what? When you're starting to, people texting on, this is what the mayor said, and this and that, you know. But you know what? They're always pointing at that person. How about it was you
Yeah.
or the chief of police? Or you?
Or the mayor. or
Where's
John,
the
everybody.
public
Where's
record?
the-
Every,
You see, and
Where's
nobody,
it gonna start?
nobody, you
Oh, I'll
see,
be all over Reddit tomorrow.
You
I'm
know.
sure. Heather, you got that?
the thing is, you guys need to,
work cohesively.
you know, go to, get
Wow.
counsel.
My wife made a statement there. Where will it start? Okay, I'll tell you where it starts. Number one, if this council would condemn this kind of behavior that's going on Reddit and everywhere else, that would take care of a lot of the problems.
The whole
People
town
would
knows.
start trusting everybody up there a lot better. You stick by your mayor. So anyway, is
You
that
can
it?
stick by the entire council and the mayor.
Well, that's true. No, that's true, but
And I condemn it too. I think it's bad.
she's the mayor. She needs
Okay,
to
point
be
of
back.
order. Can we please close this meeting? This has gone far enough.
Yep. And 9:28, the meeting's closed.
Oh, so you can buy it.